This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're in Dubai here for the opening Probellum show from the Coca-Cola Arena. Headlining, are you like dual headlining or are you headlining?
Don't offend me, KUGAN. It's the Edwards Mama show. Everyone else is just supporting act.
Alright, okay, that could be subjective with some other fighters here today. Headlining, when I speak to Paul...
Whatever.
When I speak to Paul Butler, I'll say he's headlining, so we'll do it that way.
That's miles off. If you speak to Casemiro, he might be headlining, but not Paul Butler.
Okay, moving on from that comment. Defending your world title, you're not doing it easy this week.
Yeah, mandatories rarely are, unless you get quite lucky with it. I mean, I took the Maruti fight on the basis that the winner has to fight Mama as the mandatory next, no voluntary. Because Mama was meant to fight Maruti before I did. Fight fell through. Don't think there was a massive amount of money in the fight. So it just made sense for everyone, I think, a little bit. But yeah, he got paid step aside money. I thought Maruti beat him, and now here we are.
Same record as yours, 16-0. 9 KOs to his record. How much of a dangerous opponent is this compared to whoever else you fought in your career?
Well, they're all dangerous. We've got 2 arms, 2 legs, and we've dedicated our life to get to this point. I respect the ability, the tenacity, the ambition of all the fighters I get in the ring with. This is his chance to change a life. You know what I mean? Just like really mine was last time. So I fully understand the mindset and the position he's in. I'm very fresh on that. Maybe it helped that Maruti was millions and millions of miles away from that because he'd been at world level for so long. He probably forgot what it's like to come fresh. So I fully understand that I've got a very, very live threat in front of me, and anything other than a perfect performance probably won't be good enough. But at this level, that's usually the way it goes.
I've seen a few people had kind of tweeted you to kind of just to address the situation of why you're even fighting in Dubai on the Probellum show, etc., defending your world title. So I know you have addressed that on social media like you do with many other issues in your life. So if you wanted to just kind of explain that situation with Frank Warren, etc.
So, obviously the 11th of September, I rolled my ankle on the Saturday before. Tried resting ice until the Monday. It weren't 100%. I came in with Grant. I hadn't even told Grant. It's God's honest truth. My S&C guy, Reese, had come, done physio on it. I did all that rest, ice, compression, elevation. Because I more than anything wanted to fight, and I can't stress that enough. Like I said, all I like doing is fighting. I don't like doing anything else. You know what I mean? On Monday, went in, couldn't put 100% weight on it. Couldn't even move really over to that side. Grant made the decision then in his head, but let me leave the gym on the basis of, I'm going to monitor it and keep track of it. That night, later that night, I remember speaking to Lyndon, and he asked me a few questions about this fight, about my career. That really made the penny drop, do you know what I mean? I'd already been told my management and my trainer, they weren't letting me go in the ring that week, but they were letting me come to the decision myself. So, pulled Monday night, come out Tuesday morning or whenever it come out. But I was gutted, genuinely. I don't get down about life. I don't get down about many things, but I remember the last time something like this happened, I cried when I was an amateur. Do you know what I mean? I was meant to box in the 3 Nations and I had a back go and I couldn't. And I was devastated. So the position we was in was that fight weren't happening on that weekend. I wasn't 100% fit. So I was doing sessions. I was doing bags on spinny chairs and shit, and then doing watt bikes, anything to take the impact off my legs, my ankle. But within 2-3 weeks, I was sparring again. I was 100% because it was kind of going over an old injury. So it was going over scar tissue. So it weren't like a complete snap. It weren't like a 12 weeks out, 4 months out. It was nothing like that. And that was the most frustrating thing, the timing that it happened. But I was adamant that I wanted to get out for Christmas. I told him I was ready for mid-October, November, because I hadn't lost fitness, do you know what I mean? But I was waiting and I was begging just to get it on as soon as possible. I wanted to clear my mandatory. And then it was looking at like February times, March times, and it just weren't working with my schedule. So I don't know how the conversations happened, but Frank Warren, Probellum, MTK management team, all come together and got me out on the 11th before Christmas, like I asked. I was pushing, really pushing, and I can't stress this enough, like really, really pushing to go on the Linden Yarde card. That just happened. I wanted to be the chief support to them. That's what I was pushing for. But when I got told this opportunity, I mean, a little week's holiday as well before Christmas. Why not? But yeah, I just want to thank Probellum massively, Frank Warren massively as well, for putting their heads together and making this happen, because, like I said, I didn't want to go. I had a quiet year the year before because of COVID. Only got to fight at Somba. And then I didn't want to have another quiet year, even though it only be 2 fights this year, 2 world title fights. That's a relatively decent rate, do you know what I mean? So, and then I want to get through this, win this, take my IBF world title home with me, and then I want to be back out again and again. All I like doing is fighting KUGAN. I don't like doing anything else.
It seems nowadays on social media when boxing injuries don't exist, because every injury I see a boxer put out and say they've got, it's like a big conspiracy theory. You're not really injured. It's like, that's not specific to you. That's like every fighter that now has to pull out of a fight. We've seen Tommy Fury get a load of stick. We've seen Dillian White get a load of stick. We've seen yourself, everyone. It's like a conspiracy theory of why you guys are not fighting, but injuries do exist.
Well, I know it's funny, yeah, because every time a boxer, something happens, they don't fight on that fight day. Like you said, there's always some theories. Like I heard that I weren't on weight. I heard that I had COVID. I heard that I was scared, that I was trying to avoid the fight, and everything in between. But that's why I didn't really feel the need to speak too much on it, because the other team was provided evidence. I had to go to a registered physio and get doctor's notes written up, passed by the board with evidence. Like, you can't just pull out of fights at this level. It doesn't, you're not allowed to. Do you know what I mean? If it was any sort of foul play, I would have been stripped from my title. Do you know what I mean? That's how it goes. You can't avoid these fights. But the way you just got to look at it is, everyone supports a team, a football team. How many times does a player miss a match for one reason or another? And how many times is it a training injury? Like, when we do training, we're doing running 6 miles, we're doing bags, 10, 12 rounds, or pads, or we're sparring 10, 12 rounders. What do you mean we can't get injured? We are doing, and the way I train, all my spars are intense, more intense than my fights. I spar, a lot more aggressively. I'm usually the one pushing people back, at least to a certain level of people that I'm sparring, and a certain size. And I'm always also sparring people 4, 5, 6 weights above me, KUGAN. So when I get in there against someone my weight, there is not a part of me that can physically fear them, because I get them big punches, featherweights, world champions, super featherweights. Of course there's going to be injuries. And I'll be perfectly real, this right now, touch wood, we've still got a few days left, is probably the most injury-free I've ever gone into a professional boxing ring. We're going in there and having physical fights, getting battered and bruised, smashing our arms to pieces, elbows hurting, everything, damaged ribs, whatever we get, bad ankles, whatever. And then we just get patched up, try and make them as least of a problem as possible, adapt our style and find solutions around the issues where possible, and we just get chucked back in there. I think Carl Froch said something like, if you don't go into the ring with some sort of ailment, it's a miracle. Do you know what I mean? And that was years ago he said that. And it's true. We're like modern day gladiators. You wrap a bandage around us and you're chucked in. And we're not even allowed to take certain things, certain fighters in certain countries are allowed to take certain things, but we're not allowed to take certain things that would really help and develop our regeneration. Do you know what I mean? If you're a clean fighter. So what do you expect from us? Genuinely, if I don't fight, well, I do, I've got sponsors. If I don't fight, I don't earn money. And if I don't fight, then I can't go and have a 2-week holiday and a blowout and go partying and spend time with my kids. And, the fights are the nights we live for. And you should see by my demeanour, you should see by my career, that I am not in the business of turning down fights or avoiding fights. You could ask my manager, I have never, ever turned down or knocked back a single opponent. And that's on God. There's been a couple of opponents that wanted me to go up to bantamweight, when I weren't even really a super flyweight. I'm barely a flyweight. I could probably make light flyweight, but it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? I've never knocked back, not one. Because if I always thought I'm going to be the best in the world, I believe I'm the best in the world, how can I be turning down of the 16-2 Mexicans that there's no footage of? He's lost twice. I should be able to beat him. Simple as that. Like that is my mindset going into it. So, I don't know, but obviously we live in a world full of fakery and smoke and mirrors, misdirection. So I understand why people are skeptical, but I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve, and I don't need to convince anyone of anything. I don't feel the need to. Like, you should see how I am. I don't even care about people liking me, disliking me. Like, that all doesn't bother me. I get in there to have a fight. That's all I'm concerned about. I don't care people's opinion on it. I don't care people's opinion on my style, my career, my team, the fights I've had. Like, it's boxing. I enjoy what I do to the highest of extremes, KUGAN. To the highest of extremes. Like, I've never worked a day in my life. I've been boxing since I was 9 years old. I was on GB from 18, 19. I was pro since 20. Like, I've never been remotely close to working a day in my life. My dream is to go through the whole of my existence until I keel off and die, and just be involved in boxing and things surrounding it, and never have to go clock in 9 to 5. So people can have opinions, but trust me, they're never ever going to affect the way I feel. They're never going to move my emotion needle, ever. Because, like I said, I thoroughly enjoy what I do and the place I'm in.
So you should. The last time, obviously, I saw you was only a few days ago, actually in the corridor outside Lyndon's dressing room. Yeah, you can kind of talk about all this in the same go. Obviously, first of all, I'm assuming you've been in constant contact with Lyndon since Saturday night. And then, since then, you've been kind of very vocal regarding Lyndon's defeat on social media as well. So I wanted you to kind of touch on those things if you could.
Now, I was devastated, but let's face it, it was either, don't get me wrong, Lyndon can punch. Didn't really see it there, but he did land a few. He landed some better shots in them 4 rounds than he did in the first fight. So my take of it was that after winning the first one, he didn't fight with the same fear, and fear isn't always a bad thing, because it often gets your reactions, your positioning, your engagement of the fight in the place it needs to be. Like, I don't think he fought with fear, and I thought while he was riding the shots, in his head, I know this was in his head, but in his head, he was letting Yarde punch himself out. He was giving him the space to work, but Yarde put together some good combinations, and he took the wind out of his sails with that body shot. But Lyndon was looking straight at me. I don't know if that picked up. Lyndon was looking straight at me. I was telling him to hold his feet, told him to get up at 8. He got up at 9. He was ready to fight on, and the ref straight waved it off. I've been told since then that it's a rule, I'm not sure if it's new, that if a fight is not on their feet by 8, the fight is to be called off. I don't know how true that is, but I've been told it as like one of them rule alterations that have happened, which would explain it, why it just got waved off with no, are you sure? Are you sure? Do you know what I mean? It was like the ref was in a great rush to wave it off. And I'm not saying for a second that would have altered the outcome, because we don't know. The script is unwritten, but it is what it is. Lyndon is a type of person, he's the most laid-back person you'll ever meet. He comes from such a place where he's held beatings and been on the wrong side of whatever alterations outside of boxing gyms when he was younger, growing up, where he didn't get paid very, very handsomely to do it. And he weren't in the part of a respectful sport where we're all getting up and hugging and kissing after and I appreciate you. Remember, it's 1-1. Just remember that. Like, people think, because the only way Yarde will ever beat Lyndon is by the stoppage. And Lyndon might be the only way that he ever beats Yarde is by the points. So at the moment, as it stands, it's 1-1. Lyndon didn't fight with the right tactics, probably the way that Yarde didn't fight with the right tactics in the first one, and he got caught with a shot. It put him down, but he was ready and willing to go on. People going, why did he complain at decision? Because that's not Lyndon's character. Do you not see the way he reacts with the media? Do you not see the way he's at the press conferences? He's laid back, almost like he's horizontal. You know what I mean? That is who he is. Probably why we get on so much, because I'm the giddy one that's 100 miles an hour that reacts to everything. You know what I mean? But I'm proud of him. I'm so proud of him. In the last year, he's changed his life. He went from earning very little on undercards, first TV slots a year and a half ago. Not the massive amount of interest. A good fighter, but was fighting on his Uncle Pat shows. Do you know what I mean? For the most part. And then in 364 days to the day, he had 3 fights. And he earned a lot of money. You know what I mean? And now he's in a position where, as you've seen Frank mentioned, that he he released him from contract. I've had loads of people messaging me about that, and I don't want to speak too much on it because it's their business, right? But trust me, it's what Lyndon wanted. You know what I mean? Because if he won, he was still in contract. And it was kind of asked, it was kind of petitioned that, okay, but if I do lose, can I go my own way? And it was agreed to get the rematch done. So, no, Frank didn't just... So don't be pointing at Frank going, oh, well, he's a scumbag, he lost and he's ripped up his contract. No, it wasn't that. It was mutually agreed. Everyone's happy with the way it happened. Lyndon just wasn't really happy with, he beat Yarde the first time and he was still seen as the pariah. He was still seen as the other guy, the protagonist. He weren't the antagonist, sorry. He wasn't the main character. He wasn't the hero of the storyline. So once you've seen that, you're going to lose faith and trust in the setup. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's a business. So you can't begrudge Frank or Queensbury Promotions or BT for pushing Yarde. He's very marketable. And obviously, I know there was the banter, there was the back and forth. But, me personally, I've always rated Yarde as a fighter. I've always known that there was some unlocked potential there because he's shown it in spouts. And he did what he needed to do in that fight. Will that approach of coming out all hell blazing work straight away? Because for me, Lyndon won the second round. For me. I don't know how it was everyone else. I was sat front row ringside. It was good entertaining while it lasts. Obviously, we was on the wrong side. But like I said, in that corridor meeting when we had whilst Uncle Pat cleared the room, had a little minute with Lyndon whilst I was waiting to go back in. We spoke. 364 days to that exact moment was one of my best nights in boxing, seeing Lyndon beat Yarde. Honestly, it was the memory we have of that. That can't leave a sour taste in it because, they was out celebrating, Dizzy Rascal up in the changing room, we was doing that the year before. Do you know what I mean? It's boxing, it swings and roundabouts, and you know what I mean. Everyone's sort of happy. Obviously, Lyndon's gutted. I know you saw that video of us walking, me getting dragged off by security. I don't know if you've seen it, KUGAN. But if you see the look in Lyndon's face, he's smiling, but then he has that realization of what, and he kind of does that thing where I don't know how to describe it, rolled his lips, blowed through his lips, as in sighing. And I can see his demeanor, body language. So it's my job as a friend, best friend, and someone that's so close to him, to lighten the mood. So straight away, we was running 1-2 joke. That's why we're laughing. We're not laughing at, oh, we just got beat, let's laugh. We're fucking devastated, heartbroken, but when someone beats you in combat, in boxing, in anything, on FIFA, I'm from the days of 5-0 apologies on Facebook. That was my era, do you know what I mean? So what do? You show humility, you shake their hand, and you congratulate them. Something they didn't do the year before. All they were shouting was robbery lines in the camp, but they did it. They did what they had to do, and he came with a much better, improved Yarde. So, who knows? That loss to Lyndon the first time might have been the best thing that ever happened to Yarde's career. And who knows? Yarde beating Lyndon might be the best thing that happened to him. We don't know yet. The script is unwritten. But one thing I do know is he's a good fighter. He's a very good fighter, Lyndon. And he's a very, very good person. So he'll come back. You can't keep good people down. And I'm proud of him as a friend. Very proud of him. My son calls him Uncle Lyndon. You know what I mean? He's family to me. So, you know what I mean?
Okay. I've just realised I've said literally nothing this whole interview.
That's every interview with me.
What?
That's every interview with me.
I think I've said probably, time-wise, I've probably spoke for about 90 seconds in a 22-minute interview. It's good. I like it. This is about you, obviously.
Oh, yeah? Should we start asking you some questions?
No, this is not the time or the place. You've got a world title fight on Saturday night. Let's worried about that. Yeah, so as soon as I saw you today, the first thing I said is, have you, from the other hotel to here, have you upset anyone? And you said, I think 2 people.
Potentially.
That's like a 4-minute journey, by the way.
Potentially. You know what I mean? Me and Casimiro had a bit of words. No, I'm joking, we didn't. We were at the Champs bus, you know what I mean? It was just me and Casimiro riding down with the belts. Security everywhere. Convoy cars in the front and back. You know what I mean? Ready to go, just in case, you know what I mean?
You never know.
Nah, you never know. When you antagonise people like I do, KUGAN, you never know who's out there, do you know what I mean?
So you do antagonise people. It's not you being antagonised. Get the words out. And then you reacting. It's you doing that as well.
Okay, so what I do is I sit there and I'm like a monk. I just observe, yeah. And when someone comes to me with any sort of energy or to my people, I take it to full tilt straight away. And probably the reason I'm like that is because of my brother, you know, because my brother could never take the cussing growing up. So whatever you said to him, he would come back with the deepest cut straight away. So I got used to it. You know what I mean? I got molded in it. But I just don't deal too well with disrespect because, KUGAN, have you ever been disrespectful to me? No, you've not. And have I ever been disrespectful to you in turn? No, I'm not. No, I haven't. Like, I have a lot of time for people, anyone. But the moment people start crossing lines, crossing boundaries, the reason why I've never been victimized, I've never been bullied, I've never been stuck it on, no one's ever come into an interaction with me and left with me feeling a certain type of way in my life, KUGAN, yeah, is because the moment anything can be perceived as you're trying to draw me out, or because what people do is humans, yeah, what humans do, especially if they're that way inclined, they'll do a little lean on first. They'll see if they can get away with it. And if they can get away with it, if they're that way inclined, they'll take the piss with it. So what I am, maybe it's my small man syndrome, maybe it's just the way I've seen my dad be growing up. The moment that someone tries to make me feel something that I don't want to feel, I will make you feel it 10 times worse straight away. We're snuffing it out dead, and you won't then come across me again. And if it turns like to what it can turn out, it can go that way. It's the way it goes. Like, people just probably think I'm a little dickhead, and they can think that, but people that know me in life, know me outside of boxing, know that I'm not a little dickhead. So I don't care. I find all the comments, all the back and forth funny. But you've got to remember, I'm not getting offended. That's what you've got to remember. I'll laugh. You can say anything about me or anyone. But if I'm coming with energy, it doesn't mean I'm offended. It means I'm trying to make you feel the way you're trying to make me feel. Do you know what I mean? That makes sense.
I've seen a few people kind of suggest during a fight week maybe you should just kind of maybe come off social media, etc., and concentrate on, like, for example, your fight in hand this week. But then I always think with you, this almost helps you in some sort of way. I might be completely wrong. I just feel like you must use that energy to some sort of negative energy into some sort of positive going into your fighting, because you're 3 days away from defending your world title, but you could have been round with someone on social media yesterday. But all I can think of with you is that you kind of use that to your advantage.
I find it funny. It's passing the time all the time. I look at my phone a lot. If I showed you my hours on my phone a day, it's like 8-10 hours, you know what I mean? I'm on it a lot. I'm addicted. I'm in that generation. You know what I mean? No one likes to admit they're addicted to anything, but we all are addicted to something, because every human in this society has got addictive personality. But I don't know. Like I said, I've always got a lot to say, KUGAN, in any conversation. Look at this. Like you said 5 words, and I've spoke for 25 minutes. I've got a lot to say. I've got a lot of opinions. I don't mind showing them. But at the same time, I don't impose my opinion on people. Like, I'm not just out there just picking on people to start. Like, if you follow the trace of anything, whatever I do is always warranted. You might not completely agree with my warranty, but for me, there's a cause and reaction. Do you know what I mean? you've done something to antagonise me. Because if you just leave me alone, I will leave you alone. They're like, even fighters in my division, like, until they mention my name, I don't mention theirs. Like, really, unless, obviously, they've got something in boxing that I want. But that's a whole different argument. But yeah, like, this is me. This is myself. So you want me to get to fight week and stop being myself? KUGAN, I was doing it against Maruti, but then everyone else in the media said I was the easiest person they've ever worked with. They couldn't believe how laid back I was for a first world title fight against the opponent I was fighting, 25-year-old. Like, they couldn't believe it. Like, you probably wouldn't even think that I'm fighting now with my body language and my demeanour, because I don't overthink anything in life. I do as I feel at the time. And sometimes I might say a little bit too much. And I might half regret it, but I know I don't fully regret it because I wanted to say it at the time. So it is what it is. Like, I just don't stand for disrespect. And you can disrespect me, but as well, do you know when people disrespect my people that I hold dear to me? That's when it even turns up a little bit more. You know what I mean? That's when it turns up a little bit more. And I don't tolerate any form of disrespect. It's the way me and my people are. Like, I still have to live a life. I still have to exist in this world like everyone else. So there's people outside of boxing that I might have issues with, but I won't tolerate that either. We'll get to the bottom of it today. Do you know what I mean? I'm not one of them be quiet and let you feel like you've got one up on me. No, I'm not that way inclined. Doesn't happen, not in outside world, not in a conversation, not in an argument. I have to have any bird that I'm with, I've got to have the last say. I've got to have the last say. To the point of some of my compatibility issues have been because they need the last say too. You know, one of them ones, KUGAN. So we just end up back and forward until we don't know where we're going. But, like, if people deal with me nice, I deal with them nice. Because a lot of people might call me a dick. But most of the people that have been around me actually connected with me on some sort of level. You know, we share similar ground. They'll think I'm a nice person, and a person that usually does a lot for people. Like, I don't go out and spout and speak and you know, show socials what I'm doing for him, what I'm doing for him. But the people that are good for me, I'll go the extra mile for. That's the way I am. I get a lot of gratitude out of being good to my people. Like, I had this conversation with my manager last night at about 1 o'clock Dubai time. You know what I mean? I don't do leeches. I don't do hanger-oners. I don't do Klingons. I've got my people around me, and anyone that's got to me and got into my circle have earned their way through loyalty and relationship. Do you know what I mean? I'm just not one of them people. I'm hard access to. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Normally, when I conclude an interview, I will say to the fighter, have you got anything else you'd like to say? But for you, I'm going to just bypass that because I don't want to upset the big man here either. We'll catch up again. It's only Wednesday, but yeah, we're running on half hour. Like, half hour's a nice little time. Unless there's something particularly you need to get off your chest.
No, I just shout out to my people supporting me, the ones watching me hoping to fail as well. You're just as important. Remember that. Probably more important, because supporters will support you when it's time to support. Haters will watch you all year round. So yeah, that's just my little message.
Okay, I hear that. Actually, I've listened to your interview today. There's loads of things I've actually taken from your interview, and there's loads of stuff that I actually agree with you in this interview as well. But yeah, we'll catch up again this week. Go and do whatever it is you're going to do now. And yeah, it's only Wednesday, so I'm sure we'll get a chance to sit down again at some point.
Yeah, I've got 2 brass waiting in my room. And that's what I'm doing now.
What, from last night, or did you get them in this morning?
Got them in last night, but I haven't had to pay for today. They enjoyed it so much just then.
Good luck to you. That's all I'm going to say. Sonny Edwards, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. Best of luck on Saturday, but like I said, we'll catch up with you again before Saturday.
No, thank you, Cougs.